Thank you very much. I very much appreciate y'all having me tonight. I appreciate Dr. Collins issuing the invitation. I am disappointed that that Representative Flynn didn't believe that he should answer to the person that is probably most knowledgeable about what he's been doing in Austin. And my comments tonight are things that I would say if he were here or not here. And I also want to add that my comments are my own. I in no way speak for the UT board or the system. I come here as a private citizen. So my name is Wallace Hall. I'm from Dallas. I'm a small business owner. I'm married. I have 4 children between the ages of 16 and 23. One of them has just graduated from the University of Texas. 2 of the others are still at the University of Texas and have been there over the last 5 years. So I'm not a politician. I don't give speeches as a regular course of my daily activity. So bear with me. I know you hear a lot of speakers. Like many of you in the room, I presume that you're feeling the same thing about our country as I am.
Well, I hate to disturb you, but we have some older people in the back that can't hear. Can we make sure we
pick it up? Yeah. How's this? Is this better? Perfect. Okay.
That better?
You don't have a pal mic?
No, this is fine. This is fine. This will work. But like many of you in the room, I sense that something's wrong in our country. It's below the surface. It's hard to put our finger on it. It's a rot. It manifests itself in our political class. I'm tired of being lied to. I'm tired of being misled. I expect to disagree with people on the opposite sides of issues. I don't expect to be misled by people on my side who tell me one thing, who tell us one thing and then do another. I think it's unforgivable. I've had enough of it. I assume that y'all have too. Texas is a conservative state. It's a red state. How in the world are we being governed by rhinos? People like Speaker Joe Strauss, and I would say this to Dan Flynn, the same thing with Representative Dan Flynn. They retain their power, they hold their power by their unanimous support of the Democrats in the Texas House. And then Speaker Strauss is able to get a couple handfuls of Republicans to go along with him to be his henchmen, his lieutenants, to do his bidding. And I consider Dan Flynn to be one of these people. I consider a vote for Dan Flynn as a vote for unions taking union dues from their members against their wishes. I consider a vote for Speaker Strauss, to be a vote for sanctuary cities, harboring people who are in our country and in our state illegally. It's a vote for weak borders. These people vote with the entire Democratic caucus in the House, and I don't understand how that continues to happen. What I've learned over the last 5 years is that the harm doesn't come from the young politicians, the first term, members of the House, or second term. It can only come from those men and women who have risen in power to the heads of committees or to the Speaker of the House. Only then can they really do legitimate harm to us. And I think Dan Flynn has risen, by doing the work of Joe Strauss to his position of power. And I think that's where the abuse starts. So I'm here really speaking to you about the story, my story as a member of the UT board, and to warn you of the danger that one bad politician can bring upon all of us. So first I want to start by saying why I accepted this position from Governor Perry in the first place. I care deeply about education. I believe that it's the most important thing we can do for our country and for our state is to get all of the people educated, not just those that can most easily afford it, but everybody. And when Governor Perry's office called me in the winter of 2010 and offered me the opportunity to sit on the board, my wife Chris and I discussed it, and we decided that it was the single greatest opportunity I would ever have to make a contribution to the state to hopefully bring positive changes that would benefit all of our children and their families in the years ahead. The appointment process is pretty simple. The governor appoints us. There's 9 members of this board in particular. And every 2 years with each legislative session, 3 of us roll on and 3 roll off. And we go through a vetting process with the Senate subcommittee, and then the entire Senate votes on us. I passed 31-0 in February of 11 and began a 6-year term. Many of y'all, as Dr. Collins said, have sat on boards and you understand the role of a fiduciary, but ultimately it's to be responsible. We're responsible for our institutions. We take a sworn oath. We hire and fire presidents. We're in charge of the financials. We're in charge of setting a course for the future and managing and holding people accountable. There's been a constant reoccurring theme of my tenure as a regent has been that people don't criticize me for what I've found, but they criticize me for how I conducted myself. That they would have done it differently somehow, and they would have got to the same place. There's just no way that could have happened, because all I did was ask questions and demand good answers. Our system is large. We're 14 institutions. We have an annual budget of about $16 billion in revenue for the upcoming year. About 220,000 students, 92,000 employees. It's a very, very large operation. And as you can imagine, the allure for politicians and others to get close to the university system is strong. The money is significant. Everything that I did as a board member to date and everything I will do going forward, I simply did like any of y'all would have done. I listened, I read, and I asked questions. The trouble started when I demanded good answers, because you would not imagine how often we get non-answers, misleading answers, delayed answers, or no answer. Dan Flynn would like the public to believe that that's not what happened, that I came about it in other ways or other means, and it's just not true. Of our 14 institutions, there's only one institution where we've had these problems. At every other institution, I've had an excellent relationship with every single administration. I ask questions, I get good answers, and we work very well together. It's been very productive. It was only at UT Austin where these problems existed. Some of the more well-known areas of inquiry at Austin revolved around what I recall many of us called the forgivable loan program that was at the UT Law School. Dan Flynn's chief of staff, I saw on one YouTube recently, claimed that it was his committee that uncovered the forgivable loan program at UT, and it's just not true. It's absolutely not true. They had nothing to do with any of it other than asking questions after the fact. Another area would be accounting irregularities in fundraising matters, procurement irregularities, conflicts of interest, no bid contracts that ran into millions of dollars. Some of y'all may remember the Health and Human Services scandal having to do with some of these procurement issues. We uncovered the exact same issues over a year ahead of schedule, yet we were dealt with harshly for our actions as opposed to held up as an example of good governance. It also became very obvious to a number of us that the board was not really governing at UT Austin. We were governing everywhere else, but at UT Austin we were really precluded from governing. We weren't able to ask questions freely. We weren't able to get information. And I couldn't figure out why or how this was happening. And so I started trying to understand what the impediments were to the board doing its fiduciary duty, our sworn duty of governance. And finally, in the spring of 2013, when the big trouble started, it started because of 2 requests, primarily, from what I can tell. I asked for 2 sets of data. One had to do with faculty teaching loads. By state law, we have to set and then monitor how many hours our faculty teach. So I started asking for the reports. Our regents' rules, which have the same effect as state statute under law, say that we're supposed to be getting these reports every single year from every single department and school at every institution. Well, 3 years later, it turns out, certainly at UT Austin, that we've never gotten the reports, ever. And apparently that was cause for consternation at the UT campus. The other thing that I asked for was information concerning admissions. During this period of time, I'm very interested in transparency. I believe the the only true mechanism that we have at our